Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have the Onoto British Museum Great Court Vitreous. We have the Onoto Magna Carta. We have the Onoto Rosetta Stone. We have a Noto, and this is the Queen's Jubilee. We have an Onoto, and this is the King's Coronation. We have a Montegrappa, and this is the Game of Thrones Winter is Here. We have a Montegrappa, and this is the Bartolomeo Ferracina, and that's in shiny circles. We have a Montegrappa Extra 1930 Shiny Lines Dove. We have a Montegrappa, and this is the Extra Otto, and this is in the Pearl Grey. And we have a Montegrappa Extra 1930, and this is in the Striped Zebra. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So the first pen here is the Onoto Great Court, and this is a very beautiful pen. It is made of solid silver, so it is a heavy pen. It weighs in around about 93 to 95 grams in weight. So if you think an average pen probably is around about 20 to 30 grams, that kind of tells you how heavy this pen is. So it's going to be a good 2.5 to 3 times the weight of most other pens that you probably are used to. It is solid silver, but it's then has this beautiful sort of almost like a Fabergé sort of gloss enamel coating that is laid onto this pen, and it has a sort of glossy coating over the top. These pens are not cheap to make. Now, the Noto British Museum Great Court is also made by the same artisans that make the sort of David Oscarson pens as well. And those typically are in the $5,000 to $6,000 US. It's a work of art, and it's not easy to do to this level of quality. So I do take my hats off to Onoto for being able to do this. So glad I was able to buy this when I did. This is, as you can see here, the British Museum, and it's a great court. But this is the sort of ceiling. When you go into the reading or writing room in the British Museum, there is this lovely sort of ceiling, very similar to this, where you look up to hopefully the blue sky if you're there. But certainly this year we've had a lot of sun, not a lot of cloud in summer. So you would see that kind of pattern as you look out. Absolutely stunning pen, very heavy, as I said. It is a cartridge converter pen. Has a number 7 size, a Noto nib. It's a fine nib. I bought this second hand actually from Roy at Izod's, and I didn't get to choose the nib, but I do like it. You cannot post the cap on this. It wasn't designed to do so, but it's a beautiful pen. So really glad I was able to add that to my collection. And I have, I guess, been on a little bit of an Onoto kick in more recent years, and there's this one here which is the Onoto, and it is the Magna Carta. And again, like this is a solid silver pen, 925 sterling silver, with this sort of burnished kind of look to it, with parts of the engraving of the Magna Carta from Runnymede. And this is a really beautiful pen. I do like it a lot. Has the King's seal there as well. Again though, solid silver, so around 95 grams in weight. So to write with these pens, you really do have to like a weightier pen. And I remember, if you look back at my channel, I think it was the first or second Noto that I reviewed. It was the Zemo, which was a metal purple coloured pen, and that again was around about 95 grams in weight, and I struggled at that time to write a paragraph without getting hand cramp. But over the years now, I've started getting used to larger pens, heavier pens, and I don't have a trouble with this anymore. So I kind of wish, you can see there, number 7 size nib again, fine nib. It's a cartridge converter. You can't, the cap is not really designed to be posted. But I kind of wish actually I had taken up Onoto on the offer and actually bought the Zuzimo, because it was a beautiful pen, and I think with my other Onotos it would have looked nice in my collection. But it's sort of sometimes in your life that there are just things you can or cannot do, and I just couldn't bring myself to buy that pen. It was an expensive pen, and but I was being offered a good deal on it, so I do still kick myself now and again for not buying that pen. But I have made up for it by buying some more Noto pens. And this, although it looks like the Magna Carta, this is the Rosetta Stone. And you can see that there, it says the Rosetta Stone. And it has, very similarly, hieroglyphs, writing engraved into the cap and the body there of the pen. Beautiful, beautiful pen. Again, solid silver, 95 grams in weight roughly, and number 7 size fine nib, cartridge converter as well. Again, not designed to be posted, but you really do not want to be posting a 95 gram in weight pen. So if you were to, you would not be able to write with it, I'm pretty sure. Now, the next pen here is a pen that I have added more recently, and this is the Queen Elizabeth and Platinum Jubilee pen. So this was a pen that was made in 2022 for the Queen's Jubilee, and you can see that there, the clip, and you can see all of the detail there. Absolutely beautiful. And I'm not normally a one for polished silver, but I just like the look of this pen. Again, like it is in terms of size, it's a little bit smaller than these 3 Onotos, but again, though, it is still around about 95 grams in weight. I decided to actually pick this up this year in the summer, and I picked it up. I decided for a medium nib. Now, the difference is that these 3 here have cartridge converters. This one has the newer Onoto plunger, which is essentially a vac filling mechanism. And I have to say, I am really loving this. I typically have gone back to cartridge converter pens a lot. You can post this cap. So if you really want a bit of a wand, a bit of a back-weighted cap, you can post that cap. But this is, I wanted a pen when the Queen passed. The Queen has always been like a grandmother to most of us, and I think whether or not we've known her or not, it was all a bit of a shock, even though we knew it was coming at some point, because she was getting quite old. But it was still a shock, and I wanted a pen. I tried to buy a cheap pen around the time of her death, and it's a nice pen, but it wasn't really a pen that I would say that would be commemorative of the Queen. And I've been thinking long and hard about it, and I decided that I would get this one, and managed to meet up with Onoto and do the deal on this one. The next one I also picked up at the same time. I know pens, like buses, don't come one at a time. They come in 2s or 3s even sometimes. This was the other pen that I really wanted, which was the Onoto and this is the Coronation pen. So you can see there, absolutely beautiful. This is laser engraved, so unlike the Queen's pen, this is a little bit, it's not rough to the touch, but you will find it a little bit rough if you try to use a microfiber cloth on it, because it is laser engraved. But the detail on this pen is absolutely amazing, and so glad again that I was able to pick this up from Onoto. I really am liking Onotos more recently, and the more heavier silver pens. Again, I picked this up with a medium nib. I was tempted to go for fine on these because I do like the fine nib on these ones, but I'm generally a medium nib guy, so I decided I would get medium nib, and I could always swap them around if I wanted to. Again, this has the newer plunger filler on it, so not a cartridge converter. Now, I'm not going to show you, but these plungers do actually come out. They are very tight, but you could pull them out if you wanted to. And I do believe, when I'm talking to Onoto, you can swap them out with a regular converter as well. So they are just very, very tight fitting, obviously, because they need to provide a little bit of a vacuum seal. So you don't want it shooting off the back of the pen. But this is a beautiful pen. You can post a cap as well, but again, it's going to be very, very back weighted. And you can see that it is very, very long. So you are not going to want to do that really, because if you do, it is going to be pretty back weighted, and you're not really going to be able, I would say, to write with that pen on the paper. Now, the next pen here is a much larger pen, much girthier pen. This was a pen that I actually managed to secure in at the end of February this year, and it arrived just after the London Pen Show. Absolutely beautiful work of art. I've always deep down wanted this pen, and knew that I couldn't or wouldn't afford it. I could afford it if I wanted to. I think all of us can afford almost anything we want if we put our mind to it, but I knew that I wouldn't pay the retail price, and I got this for a good deal, and so glad that I was able to pick this up. This is the Montegrappa Game of Thrones. Winter is here. You've got that ice breathing dragon there. Beautiful pen, work of art, like a lot of these pens are. It does have a smaller section, thinner section, and a number 6 size nib. It's a medium nib. It is a piston converter, or not a converter, a piston filling pen. You can post the cap, but it's not really designed to do so. I would be worried that it's going to fall off. But it's a beautiful pen. It's not uncomfortable to write with. A lot of people think it would be uncomfortable, but it's really not. It is actually quite a comfortable writing pen. The next pen inked up this week is this one, and this is the Montegrappa Bartolomeo Ferracina in shiny circles. And I picked this up a few years ago. It was around the pandemic. I went to the London Pen Show in March 2020, and Emmy was there from Pen Venture. He wanted to sell this, or he wanted to trade for one of my Arcos, and I wasn't ready to let it go. But I did eventually, after the show, a couple of months later, end up buying this pen. I like the stacked celluloid. I like the Montegrappa stacked celluloid. As much as I like the Visconti stacked celluloid, I think the Montegrappa stacked celluloid is a little bit more beautiful, a little bit more shiny. And I like large pens, so this really did speak to me. It is a long pen. It is a big pen. It has a number 8 size Montegrappa medium nib there. But it's a piston filling pen. You can post the cap as well. Now it has a clock on the cap there, because Bartolomeo Ferracina was a clockmaker in, I believe, in Italy. The next pen inked up is the Montegrappa Extra 1930 Shiny Lines Dove, and this actually now, after handling all of those pens, feels like a pocket pen to me. It is very small. Like, Just look at the size of that, in not only in length but in girth as well. But this is a beautiful pen. It was a Goulet exclusive. I managed to pick it up soon after release. I spoke to Brian Goulet and managed to get this shipped to me in the UK. Has a number 8 size dove nib there, and this is the Shiny Lines dove Montegrappa. You can post the cap, but it posts onto the piston knob, so you have to be careful when putting it on and taking it off, because if you're not careful, you're going to be twisting that and maybe expelling ink out, depending on the direction that you twist that pen. But it is a piston. It's a number 8 size nib on there, and I like that pen a lot. It's a nice pen, and started me a little bit down the Montegrappa route. And then there's this pen as well, and this is the Montegrappa. It is actually the extra Otto, and I have to say I still would like more of these, because it really actually looks nice, and I would like some more of these if I could get my hand on the Ottos. And this is actually a Korean version of the extra Otto, and it's called the Pearl Grey. It was a Korean exclusive limited edition, and I do like it a lot because it really does shine quite nicely there. You see that pearly grey celluloid. I like the cap band on these Ottos. I like that it is a chunky cap band there. I also like that they have a number 8 size nib, silver section, and it's a piston filling mechanism. Now, interestingly, I never used to like the silver sections on these, but it's something that I've grown more attached to over time, because they will, if you can see it here, they will tarnish there around the edges and all across. But you can very easily, I'll show you here actually, you can very easily just take a silver polishing cloth and just polish that and just rub it, and you'll see that a lot of that tarnish then disappears. And you can just do it around the whole of the pen. You don't need to do it much, just do that, and then it's enough to actually shine it up. So I used to hate it that they would tarnish over time, but I don't now. The caps also post very deeply over the piston, beyond the piston knob. So you're not going to worry about turning that piston knob when you put the cap on or take the cap off. Beautiful pen, and quite weighty as well. This body is quite weighty in that one. And then the last pen here is the Montegrappa Extra 1930 in the striped zebra. There's 2 zebras that I'm aware of. There's the striped zebra, which I have here, and there's the vertical zebra, which I also have. But I prefer the striped zebra a little bit more, and you can see why. It has this lovely zebra-like pattern on it, and I think that's why they call it a striped zebra, because they cut this pattern in 2 different directions. So one's striped more and one is vertical. This is the Extra 1930, again with a silver section there, number 8 size nib, and also you've got the power vac there as well. I'd say power vac piston. You can post the cap, but again it posts onto that piston knob, so you've got to be careful there. It doesn't post deeply or securely, but that is a nice pen to write with as well. So that's my 10 pens currently inked this week. I think let's now go and do a writing sample. So the first pen inked up is the Onoto, the British Museum Great Court Vitreous, and we'll do an ink swatch first. And this is a fine nib, but I love how this writes. I've never really been into fine nibs. It's more medium nibs I've been into, but I do have some fine nibs. But this is a beautiful pen to write with. So this is the Onoto British Museum Great Court and it's a fine, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. They're made by Bock, these nibs. It's a number 7 nib. And then the ink in here is Venvustus Aqua di Spargi, which is a lovely turquoise coloured ink, one that I really do like. The next pen inked up is the Onoto Magna Carta. So we'll do another ink swatch here. And again, this is a fine nib, and I had the option. So when I went to the pen show and bought this, I had the option of choosing the nib. And I thought, you know what, I normally go for a medium nib, but you know what, let me just try a fine nib. And I dipped a fine nib, and I really liked it. So this is the Onoto Magna Carta. And it's a fine, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Diamine Earl Grey. But I do love how both of those fine nibs write. They write very nice. A little bit wet, not fire hose wet, but moist enough to actually lay down a wet line. The next pen inked up is the Onoto Rosetta Stone. And again, like this, I didn't have an option on this one. So I decided I would just have to buy it as it was. I could always swap out a medium nib or buy a medium nib for it if I wanted to. So this is the Onoto Rosetta Stone. And this is again a fine, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Venvustus, and it's Fumo di Alondra, which is a nice grey. It's a little bit lighter than Earl Grey. I still prefer Earl Grey, I think, over the Fumo di Alondra, but it is a nice colour nevertheless. The next pen inked up is the Queen's Jubilee pen from Noto. So we'll do an ink swatch here. Now, I did say that I got this in a medium nib, and have to say I'm really excited with this nib. This is very wet. Feels a little bit more like a paintbrush, but it's not. It's just a very wet nib. But this is the Onoto, and it's called the Jubilee pen. And I'm just going to get the exact wording because I'm not sure if I've actually labeled it correctly in my spreadsheet. It's called the Onoto Platinum Jubilee Sterling Silver pen. And it's got a medium, and it's got an 18 karat gold nib. It might be that you're not technically allowed to use Queen in the name. I'm not 100% sure. But then obviously this was when she was alive. So the ink in here is Diamine, and it's Majestic Purple, which I thought was a fitting colour, not only because of the name Majestic, but the Queen also, although she wore lots of bright colours, she also wore purple as well. And I thought that would be quite a nice colour of ink to use there. The next pen inked up is the Onoto Coronation pen. And we'll do an ink swatch here. And again, this has a medium nib. And the ink I've got in here to start with is the ink that I put in initially when inking this up. And I kind of think I want a little bit of a lighter blue. This is the Onoto, and it is the Coronation pen, and it's a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. But you can see with both of these pens, these write more like a Western broad, which I do like actually. It is actually quite a nice line width. Now the ink in here, I went with a similar one. I went with Diamine Majestic Blue. Because a lot of things around the King's Coronation is all around blue. I do think though that this needs to be a lighter blue. I did look at maybe some inks. I think Colt Pens had one, but it had shimmer in, which I didn't really want to put in a plunger filler. There was Pure Pens do a Coronation ink as well, but I didn't have it. So I might actually put something like... I'm actually looking at a bottle right now of Franklin Christoph Spanish Blue, and I might actually put that in there, or I might even put Konpeki, or tempted at Pelican Eagle Sign Topaz, but I've got that in another Onoto. So I will probably change that at some point, just not yet, but I will probably change it in future videos. The next pen inked up is the Montegrappa, and this is the Game of Thrones Winter is Here. No longer is winter is coming, winter is here. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a lovely writing nib. I still wish it was a number 8 size nib, but I guess similar really with my Tatcha, my Abbey Winter's Breath, is the original one that came with number 6. I kind of wished it was a number 8, but I love writing with this nib. Don't get me wrong, it's a beautiful nib. So this is the Montegrappa, and it's Game of Thrones. Winter is here. And it is a medium, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And the ink in here is Diamine Earl Grey. And you can see the difference in colour depending on how wet the nib writes. So even though this is a fine, somebody actually, I can't remember who it was, but somebody mentioned recently on one of the videos that where I normally say that a finer or dry writing nib typically writes lighter, they said that in a lot of cases they see the opposite. And I don't see that in a lot of cases, but I do see now and again, like this is a fine nib and it writes darker than this one, which is a medium nib. So yes, you can get it happening. I think it all really depends on the nib itself though, and just how not only how wet it is or how dry it is, but just how that ink flow comes through from the feed. The next pen inked up is the Montegrappa Bartolomeo Ferracina in shiny circles. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now this also is the same ink, and I do still need to get more greys that I like. If I could get 5 different greys that look like Diamine Earl Grey, with different names, I would actually be quite happy, I think. So this is a Montegrappa Bartolomeo Ferracina in shiny circles. I'm going to run out of space. It's a medium and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And then the ink, as I mentioned already, is Diamine Earl Grey. But it's just, I don't know what it is with this ink. I like dark grey inks. I like dark grey inks that flow really well. And for me, it just flows really well. And I've not found another dark grey ink as good as that. I think the Van Vusta Fumo di Londra isn't as dark, but it does flow almost as well. Maybe not quite as well. But I do need to try. I maybe need to look at some of the other diamine grey inks and see if I can find another one there. Find some in maybe some other brands as well that I could try, because I've tried a few grey inks and I've been a bit disappointed with some of them. The next pen inked up is the Montegrappa Extra 1930 Shiny Lines Dove. So we'll do an ink swatch on this one as well. And you can see here that this again is a nice wet writer. So I think it came a little bit dry actually, and I did floss the tines a little bit on this one. But it's a Montegrappa. Actually, I did floss it quite a bit from what I recall. Montegrappa Extra 1930 Shiny Lines Dove. Because this did write quite dry. I think maybe if you look back to the original unboxing and review video, you'll probably see it there. So this is a medium and it's an 18 karat gold nib. It's a number 8 size nib, like the Bartolomeo Ferracina. And then obviously it's Diamine Earl Grey. But I think I'm not into black inks, but Diamine Earl Grey is bordering on a black ink in a lot of cases. It's a very, very dark grey ink. The next pen inked up is the Montegrappa Extra Otto in Pearl Grey, and this is a Korean limited edition. So we'll do an ink swatch here, and I will have to apologise here because, interestingly enough, it's also inked up with the same grey ink. So this is a Montegrappa Extra Otto Pearl Grey, and it's. I'm just going to double check this. I think it is a medium nib on this one. Yeah, it is a medium. I know one of them was more of a fine, but that definitely looked more like a medium. It's an 18 karat gold nib. There you go. And it's a number 8 size nib as well. And then obviously the ink is Diamine Earl Grey. But I'll probably take Diamine Earl Grey and just come up with 5 different names and bottle it into other bottles and call it different names, because I do like Diamine Earl Grey. If I had to go with a grey ink, I could. If there was only one ink that I could go with, it probably would be Diamine Earl Grey, because it is a beautiful, beautiful grey ink, and I do love writing with that a lot. The next pen inked up is the Montegrappa Extra 1930 Striped Zebra, and I think in the past I've had this inked up with Diamine Bilberry, I think, from recollection. We'll do an ink swatch here. Now, I just want to double check the nib on this one, because I think, let me have a look off camera. I believe it's a medium, but I do find it writes a little bit more like a fine. Just finish this ink swatch, and I'm just going to check my pen database just to see here, because sometimes these can be deceiving, and it's difficult to actually see the lettering on the nib. Yeah, it is a medium. I thought it was, but I just wanted to double check. So this is the Montegrappa Extra 1930 Striped Zebra. And it's a medium, as I mentioned, and it's an 18 karat gold nib. And it's a number 8 size nib as well. And then the ink in here is this week Diamine Majestic Purple, which I did use on the Platinum Jubilee pen as well. But this always used to be a favourite purple ink of mine. And I used to use it a lot. So I think let's take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have an Onoto British Museum Great Court in a fine 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Venvistus Aqua di Spargi. We have an Onoto Magna Carta in a fine 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have an Onoto Rosetta Stone in a fine 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Venvistus Fumo di Londra. We have an Onoto Platinum Jubilee in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Majestic Purple. We have an Onoto Coronation, King's Coronation in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Majestic Blue. We have a Montegrappa Game of Thrones Winter is Here in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have a Montegrappa Bartolomeo Ferracina Shiny Circles, and that is in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have a Montegrappa Extra 1930 Shiny Lines Dove in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. We have a Montegrappa Extra Otto Pearl Grey in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Earl Grey. And we have a Montegrappa Extra 1930 Striped Zebra in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Diamine Majestic Purple. So there you have it. That's my currently inked pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.